Flowsheets in Welford chart notes. Today we're going to learn how to use flowsheets in Welford chart notes. There are several different ways to access flowsheets. You can press View Flowsheets. The program comes with pre-built flowsheets on diabetes, hyperlipidemia, and warfarin. But we're going to use the flowsheet we created in another video called hypothyroid, so we choose Use. You can also press the Flowsheet Use toolbar button. If you are using the upcoming reminders auto open window in the writer and there is a flowsheet entry which is overdue, it will show up in this window. Double click it to open the corresponding flowsheet. But let's go back to the main menu and show how to open the hypothyroid flowsheet. Press View, Flowsheet, Use, and then type in hypothyroid as the name of the flowsheet. Specify the name of the patient who you wish to see. The program defaults to the one currently loaded in the writer if the writer is open. The flowsheet opens back in time a certain number of weeks or months. You can change the start date here. You can adjust this by clicking on the Options button. Set the open back number to the number of days you want the flowsheet to open backward in time by default, like 120 days. You can record an optional comment for why this particular patient has this flowsheet, such as why this patient is hypothyroid. You can resize the widths of any of the columns in the flowsheet using your right mouse button. The program remembers the width you specified for each flowsheet for each column. You can also readjust the width and height of the entire flowsheet, and the program remembers your settings. Here we see in yellow any previously stored entries for this flowsheet since the start date. Now let's add some new information into the flowsheet. Click on the TSH box and type in the TSH result. If a TSH had been previously entered into the lab book either manually or by the lab book importer, the TSH would already be shown in this location. Conversely, any results that you type into this box are automatically stored in the patient's lab book as well. We'll also type in a free T4 result. The program looks up the current dose of any thyroid hormone the patient is currently taking and places it into this column. Click on the New Doses column to change the dose. Click on the bar showing the current dose to open the medication editor. We change the dose to 0.15 milligram and store it both in the medication editor and in the flowsheet. You can also click on the stop box to stop a medication or click on the Add New Drug bar to add a new medication to the patient's medication editor and flowsheet. Now click on the Assessment box or the Assessment tab and check on Too Little Medication. Click in the Advice column or on the Advice tab and check Increase Your Dose. You can type in additional advice, such as see if she is taking it with calcium. The program checks by default all of the next tests that you specified when you set up the flowsheet. We will uncheck thyroid ultrasound because we don't want one of those. You can add other tests by typing in the name of the test and then clicking the Add button, like free T3. Or highlight the test and click Delete to remove it from the list of next tests. The repeat-in interval is set by default when you create the flowsheet, but you can change it to whatever you feel is appropriate in this particular case. If the patient does not have the next tests within the repeat-in interval, those items are added to the upcoming reminders report and auto-open window so that you are automatically reminded when the patient is due for these. Click Store to store this flowsheet. Click the Add button to add a new line to the flowsheet. Click the Calendar button to specify the start date using a calendar. Click the Delete button to delete the currently highlighted line from the flowsheet. Click the Edit button to edit the currently highlighted line in the flowsheet. Click the Jump button to jump to another program function for this patient. You can even jump to the flowsheet editor to restructure this flowsheet. Click the Options button to adjust the flowsheet options. Check Next Tests Create Orders if you want each of the next tests to generate a corresponding order. Check Show Intervening Data if you want the flowsheet to show results that occurred between the lines that you have stored. Check Word Wrap Screen if you want all of the text visible on the flowsheet by word wrapping each line. Here we see the flowsheet with Word Wrap disabled. Click the Print button to print this flowsheet on your printer. Click the Store button to store the flowsheet but continue editing it. Hover over the Visit button to see when the patient's next visit is due, or click on it to open the visitor. Click Playback to insert the contents of the flowsheet into the writer. Click the Send button to send this flowsheet to the inbox of another user, such as Susie's secretary. Here we log in as Susie's secretary and see the flowsheet listed in her inbox. She double-clicks this line to open the flowsheet. She reviews the information, including the advice, and calls the patient on the phone. She clicks on the Notified column and indicates the date and time when she notified the patient of this information and the method by which she did so. She can also record an optional comment about the conversation. This provides complete documentation that the patient was notified of the information. And that's how to use flowsheets in Welford Chart Notes. For more information, visit us at emirj.com.